football season. My name is Mike Browning. I'm the host of the College Football Road Trip at CFBRoadTrip.com. We are back home after a couple of weeks on the road. We were at the UMass of Toledo game in week 2. And then this past weekend, we were at the Cincinnati-Miami, Ohio game in Oxford, Ohio. Both of them were fun games to be at, although the Miami game was very hot, upper 80s, sun blaring, so good to be home and out of the sun, at least as far as that is concerned. With that said, we have a good lineup of games going on this week, so let's go ahead and jump into this week's picks. We're going to start off with a couple of Friday night games. The first one is a pretty interesting one. We have San Jose State traveling to Washington State out west. This is interesting because both of these teams are undefeated on the year. Washington State is coming off of the win over their in-state rival Washington last week, which was a pick that I missed in last week's pick. They looked pretty good in that game. San Jose State is also undefeated so far on the year, although they have not really played great competition so far. Obviously, as I mentioned, the Cougars win over the Huskies is the big win between these two teams. And so to me, that means the Washington State has the momentum. They have more ability to pull off wins like this, so I'm going to give them the edge. I have Washington State winning at home over San Jose State. Next, let's go to a Big Ten matchup on Friday night. We have number 24 Illinois traveling to number 22 Nebraska. Both of these teams have a decent win on their resume so far this year. Illinois does have a win over Kansas. Nebraska has the big win over Colorado a couple of weeks ago. Again, between these two teams, I think the Nebraska win over Colorado is a slightly bigger one, especially after the way Kansas lost to UNLV to go to 1-2. Also in this one, Nebraska is the home team. I think they have a lot of momentum. I think Matt Rhule is starting to get things rolling a little bit there for the Huskers, and so I think their momentum will continue this week. I have Nebraska winning at home over Illinois in Big Ten play. Now let's go to our Saturday matchups. Our first one is a non-conference matchup. We have James Madison traveling to North Carolina. Both of these teams are undefeated on the year so far as well. James Madison is a team that had a great season last year. They have a lot of momentum continuing into this season. They haven't really put teams away yet though. North Carolina on the other side is still unranked, even though they're undefeated. They struggled mightily in week 1 at Minnesota, but found a way to pull off the win. They've looked a little bit better the past couple weeks. They're the home team in this one. I think James Madison will put up a good fight. I think this one will go into the fourth quarter. But I think the Tar Heels will find a way to pull it out in the end. I have North Carolina winning at home over James Madison. Next, let's go to an American Conference matchup. We have Memphis traveling to Navy. Both of these teams are also undefeated so far on the year. Memphis is coming off their big win over Florida State, although with Florida State being 0-3, how big a win really is that? But still, going to an ACC team on the road and winning is a big deal. Navy, on the other hand, has not really had great competition, but they have won decisively in both of their first 2 matchups. But Memphis has a lot of momentum. Memphis is one of those teams that will be competing to try to make it to the playoff at the end of the year as one of the non-Power 4 teams. I think they have a good chance to do that. Navy, again, has just not had the competition, so I think Memphis will be able to go in and pull away in the second half. I have Memphis winning on the road at Navy. Next, let's go to an ACC matchup. We have NC State traveling to 21st ranked Clemson. Both of these teams already have a loss on the year, but both of these teams are also up there as far as these are teams that people thought would be competitive in the ACC. NC State is coming off a huge loss a couple weeks ago against Tennessee, but Tennessee is a team that's for real. Clemson is a team that obviously lost to Georgia pretty decisively in week 1, but have won since then. The question is, which one of these teams will continue that momentum, and which one of them is going to start off conference play with a loss? Clemson's the home team in this one. I think Clemson has a little more momentum. Yes, they lost to Georgia, but Georgia is a really good team. I think Clemson's going to find a way to pull this one out. I have Clemson winning at home over NC State. Sticking with the ACC, we have Georgia Tech traveling to 19th ranked Louisville. Louisville is a team that I think is really under the radar. They are ranked, but I really haven't heard anybody talk about Louisville so far this year. They're a good team. They're one of those teams that could surprise in the ACC and make it to the championship game at the end of the conference play. Georgia Tech is coming off their win at the beginning of the year against Florida State. Did not look that great last week in a loss to Syracuse. So because of that, I think Louisville is going to be able to pull this one off pretty convincingly, pulling away in the second half. I have 19th ranked Louisville winning at home over Georgia Tech. Next, let's move over to the Big 12. We have 13th ranked Kansas State traveling to BYU. Both of these teams are also undefeated on the season. Both of them want to get off to a good 1-0 conference record. Kansas State is a team that struggled against Tulane a couple weeks ago, but looked a lot better last week. BYU, yes, they're undefeated, but they really struggled against SMU a couple weeks ago before finding a way to pull it out in the end. Kansas State, I think, is going to be right there at the end of the season for the Big 12 championship. And because of that, I have them with the edge in this one. I have 13th ranked Kansas State winning on the road at BYU in Big 12 play. Moving on to Big 10 play now, we have a ranked versus ranked matchup. We have 11th ranked USC traveling to 18th ranked Michigan. Michigan is obviously coming off their loss to Texas a couple weeks ago. Even with that loss, they haven't looked that great in their 2 wins either. They've struggled a little bit more to the point that they changed their starting quarterback this week. USC has their is looking pretty good so far. They have their close win against LSU. They've looked good since then. I think their defense is starting to look a little bit better, definitely better than they looked the past 2 seasons under Lincoln Riley. Because of that, I think if you can play on both sides of the ball, that's going to give you a lot of momentum. Michigan just isn't the team that they were last year when they won the national championship. I think USC is going to go into the big house and pull off the win. 11th ranked USC wins on the road at 18th ranked Michigan. Next, heading back to the Big 12, this is probably a conference matchup that a lot of people are looking forward to, and it's the starting matchup for both of these teams. We have 12th ranked Utah traveling to 14th ranked Oklahoma State. The big news, as everyone knows, for Utah is Cam Rising being injured and out. They've still been able to pull off pretty decisive wins, although they really haven't had the best competition. Oklahoma State was able to come from behind to beat Arkansas a couple weeks ago, and then they just destroyed Tulsa, although Tulsa is not a very good team. I think Oklahoma State is just better. You have Ollie Gordon at the running back position. You do not have a quarterback for Utah, at least the starting quarterback. I think Oklahoma State is just going to have too much for the Utes in this one. I have 14th ranked Oklahoma State winning at home over 12th ranked Utah in Big 12 play. Now for the main matchup of the week, the game that College Game Day will be at this week. Out of the SEC, we have 6th ranked Tennessee traveling to 15th ranked Oklahoma. Obviously, there's been a lot of news around this. You have Josh Heupel coming back to Norman after leading to a national championship game as a player and then being an assistant coach for several years. He's now gone off to Tennessee. He's turned that program around. He has them looking great. Such a strong offense. They've just been blowing teams out along the way. On the flip side, you have Oklahoma, whose defense has actually looked a lot better this year. It's been their defense that have kept them into games and allowed them to win games. They were a lot closer than probably should have been. Their offense has struggled along the way. The question, as it has been for the past couple weeks, is can a makeshift offensive line find the groove, be able to have a running game that can do anything, give Jackson Arnold protection so he can go out and make throws? The defense can probably slow Tennessee down, but they're not going to be able to shut Tennessee out by any means. Oklahoma's going to have to be able to score points in order to keep up with the Volunteers, and frankly, I just don't think they will be able to do it. I think it will be close for a half, but Tennessee will just have too much offensive power in the second half and find ways to eventually score on the Sooners. So I have 6th ranked Tennessee winning on the road at 15th ranked Oklahoma in SEC play. So those are our week 4 picks. Again, I'm working on my blog entry from my first part of my Ohio trip to Toledo. That'll probably be coming out later, either late this week or early next week. So be on the lookout for that. I'll have my Miami trip about a week after that. In the meantime, go enjoy the week 4 games, everyone. We'll talk to all of you again next week.